We are 1 week away from the NBA draft, so I want to give you my final 2022 NBA mock draft 3.0. With the first pick in the 2022 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic select Jabari Smith Jr., and this is a perfect pick because the Magic really cannot afford to take a risk on this pick. They need to find a guy that is a safe pick but also has tremendous upside, and I think Jabari Smith is that guy in this draft, and he would be a good fit on this team because he provides spacing, which the Magic desperately need, as well as he's just a smart player, very similar to a guy like Franz Wagner that they selected at number 8 last year. And to have two really versatile wings that can switch between positions, I think that's a really good deal for the Magic, so I have them going with Jabari Smith. At number 2, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder going with Chet Holmgren. This is a team that can actually afford to take a risk here, and I think they take one of the biggest boom or bust players that we've had in a long time in terms of Chet Holmgren. I think at the very least he will be a good rim protector, but it's all going to depend on if he can add some size to his frame and if the shooting really does hold up in the NBA. So we will see how effective he is, but I think he has sky-high potential, so I have OKC going with Chet Holmgren. At number 3, we have the Houston Rockets going with Paolo Banchero, and I think this is a really solid fit for them. They need a guy that can definitely take pressure off of Jalen Green, and it's good because Paolo is actually a very underrated passer. You can kind of run the offense through him and give Green some spot up and cutting opportunities, maybe even lob opportunities. That would be really fun to see. So I have Paolo going to Houston at number 3. At number 4, we have the Sacramento Kings, and they are going to take Keegan Murray here because they are trying to win now. They're trying to break that playoff drought of 16 years. And I mean, Keegan is really one of the better ready now players in this NBA draft. He still has a good amount of potential as well, maybe not as high of a ceiling as a lot of other guys in this draft, but he's definitely going to be an immediate contributor on both ends of the ball. And the Sacramento Kings, they just need guys that are ready to help them at least make the play-in tournament next season. At number 5, we have the Detroit Pistons selecting Jaden Ivey, and this is a really great backcourt partner for Cade Cunningham. They have a really solid foundation there in Detroit with Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, Cade Cunningham, and then if you add Jaden Ivey to that, that's a really, really solid young core. And Ivey can do a lot of things. He can play on the ball, off the ball. He's good as a cutter and is pretty decent as a playmaker. I would say he needs to work on that a little bit more. He also needs to work on his defensive consistency as well. But I think he has time to grow in Detroit, and that could be a scary backcourt in some years to come. At number 6, we have the Indiana Pacers selecting Shaedon Sharpe. I think at this point, you have to go with the best guy available if you're Indiana. I think if he slips to you at number 6, definitely take him. He has comparisons even to Paul George, so it would be very interesting to see if he can develop into that type of player for Indiana. But he does make a solid backcourt partner for Tyrese Halliburton. He can shoot. He doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective, but he can play make on the ball and score on the ball if he needs to. And he has the potential to be a really good defender on the wing as well, potentially play the 2 or the 3 position. So I have them going with Shaedon Sharpe at number 6. At number 7, we have the Portland Trail Blazers making a trade here, and they are going to send the number 7 pick along with Eric Bledsoe and Nazir Little to Atlanta in exchange for John Collins and the number 16 pick in this same draft. And this is a really good upgrade for Portland. They definitely need a secondary scorer next to Damian Lillard as well as Anthony Simons. I think he'd be a great lob threat for Damian Simons as well. And I don't know, it just gives them another young guy, but a guy that can contribute right away. He has playoff experience going to the Eastern Conference Finals a couple years ago as well. So I really like this trade for Portland. And with the 7th pick, I would have the Atlanta Hawks taking Dyson Daniels. This is a really good trade for them. They need somebody that can create offense for themselves or even others, and somebody that can defend the best backcourt player, obviously because of Trae Young's defensive liabilities. And I think Dyson Daniels is a perfect guy to slot next to Trae Young, and I think he could develop into a Lonzo Ball type player for them. So I have them taking Daniels at 7. At number 8, we have the New Orleans Pelicans, and they are going to select Benedict Mathurin here. He's a really good 3-and-D prospect with potential to have some playmaking and ball handling skills as well. I think the New Orleans Pelicans don't really have a need for anything, but if they can pick a player that can contribute to them right now as a 3-and-D prospect, I think that's a perfect fit for them. So I have them taking Mathurin at 8. At number 9, we have the San Antonio Spurs, and they're taking a swing for the fences pick here in Ousmane Dieng. And I think he's a really good pick for them. He's a French player that played in New Zealand this past year, and there has been a lot of success out of the players that have come out of New Zealand. Think of Lonzo Ball or even RJ Hampton, and I think he could be a really good playmaker, defender, potentially 3-and-D guy. I think he'll be a really good defender in the NBA. He has a lot of great instincts, and the Spurs need some front court players, so I think he could slot in very nicely there. And the development system that the San Antonio Spurs have, it's like no other, so I think he would be a really good fit. With the 10th pick, I have the Washington Wizards selecting Johnny Davis. They tend to go for more ready now prospects, especially recently. Last year, they selected Corey Kispert with the 15th pick. So I have them going Davis here. I think he's a ready now contributor, could even potentially start next to Bradley Beal if they potentially get rid of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, or maybe they start all 3 of them together. Obviously, they need some guard help. Davis does have ball handling capabilities. He's a really good mid-range shooter, solid defender as well. I think he's a solid fit next to Bradley Beal, or even as a potential replacement for him down the line. At number 11, we have the New York Knicks, and they're going to select AJ Griffin. I think this is kind of a steal for them, especially because Griffin is slotted to go a little bit higher than this. And if he falls to them, I think they should absolutely take the chance on him. I know he has some injury concerns, but if the guy is able to reach his potential, he could become a Jaylen Brown type of player. I think he's at the very least going to be a solid 3-and-D prospect. And I think he fits in perfectly next to RJ Barrett, definitely creates space for him, which the Knicks do need shooting there as well. And I think they could solve some of their point guard issues in this free agency. So I have them selecting Griffin at number 11. At number 12, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder selecting Jeremy Sohan, and this gives them a fantastic front court pairing of Chet Holmgren and Sohan, a fantastic defensive, versatile lineup in that front court, along with Lou Dort, Josh Giddey, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. These are 2 great pick and roll and lob threats as well. I think Sohan can guard multiple positions for them, so I think he's a great fit in OKC at number 12. At number 13, I have the Charlotte Hornets, and they are going to select Malachi Branham here, and he is a really good 3-and-D prospect, but also has ball handling and playmaking capabilities. The guy's potential to be a really good scorer in the NBA, and I think that the Charlotte Hornets really need to focus on getting a long-term backcourt partner for LaMelo Ball. They do have Terry Rozier, but he's probably not the long-term option for them. They also have James Bouknight, who really didn't get a lot of run last season, mostly because of his defensive shortcomings. So here you fix that with Branham, who has a lot of defensive potential, has a huge wingspan for his size. So I think he would fit in really well in Charlotte. At number 14, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers going with a win now prospect in Ochai Agbaji, and I think he would slot in perfectly at that 3 spot whether it's starting or coming off the bench for them. He gives them a guy that can guard the wings that are in the Eastern Conference now, and I think he could do a really good job considering his older age. He's definitely a more seasoned prospect for them, and if he hits a consistent three-pointer, he would fit in extremely well with that lineup. Darius Garland could get him a lot of open shots. So I have the Cleveland Cavaliers selecting Agbaji at 14. At number 15, we have the Charlotte Hornets making a trade here with the Indiana Pacers, where they would get Miles Turner and the number 31 pick in exchange for this number 15 pick, as well as Kelly Oubre and Kai Jones from the Charlotte Hornets. And I think this is a really, really good trade for the Hornets. Obviously, they get the center that they've desperately needed for a long time. And on top of that, he is a great rim protector and defender, and that solves a lot of their issues. Obviously, they are one of the weaker defensive teams in the NBA currently, so they definitely solved that with that 13th pick in Branham and this trade for Turner, as well as getting that, basically you could call it a late first round pick because it's the first pick of the second round. So I think that's really good value for this number 15 pick and Oubre as well. So at 15, I have the Indiana Pacers selecting Tari Eason, and I think this is another really solid pick, a guy that could contribute for them right now. He can give you a little bit of everything on the wings, and he can play the 3 or 4 spot. He has a little bit of passing to his game as well. Definitely reminds me of a DeAndre Hunter type of player. I think he would slot in perfectly next to Sharp, Halliburton, potentially Jalen Smith if they re-sign him, Isaiah Jackson. They have some really good guys there. And then adding Oubre and Kai Jones in this deal. Oubre, you could take a flyer on him and really see if he fits in. He still is young at 26 years old, and obviously Indiana would be pushing to win a little more now, so he could help them with that. And then Kai Jones is a really good guy to take a flyer on as a young big with defensive potential. I think he'd be really good on this team as well, so I think it's a really solid trade for both teams here. At number 16, we have the Portland Trail Blazers selecting Jalen Duren here. They got this pick in the trade that I proposed earlier with Atlanta. So Jalen Duren, really, he slipped pretty far down here, and I don't know if that'll happen on draft night, but if it does, Portland should definitely take him here. He has potential to be a really, really solid center in the NBA. At the very least, a good rebounder and defender, which they need both of desperately. So I think that he would be a great fit in Portland next to John Collins, Damian Lillard, and Anthony Simons. At number 17, we have the Houston Rockets, and I have them taking Ty Washington, basically because they do need some type of creation on this team. Jalen Green is a really good scorer, but I don't think he should be your primary playmaker. I think Ty Washington is more of a scorer, but at this point, you can't pass up the talent that he provides. He could potentially go in the lottery, but I feel like he would be a really good fit in Houston with all those young guys. And who knows, he could become like a Tyrese Maxey type of player. And then you have an incredible backcourt of Washington and Green. So I have them taking Washington at number 17. At number 18, we have the Chicago Bulls, and I have them selecting Mark Williams. Obviously, Nikola Vucevic really showed some of his weaknesses in the playoffs this past season, and I think using a guy like Mark Williams, who is absolutely a defensive beast in the paint, can really do the dirty work and get rebounds, and let DeRozan and LaVine do the scoring on the wings. I think he would be a really solid option for now as a backup and potentially as a long-term starter in the future for the Chicago Bulls. At number 19, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves selecting EJ Liddell, and this guy is a perfect fit for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He is a guy that can hit threes on the perimeter. He can absolutely post up the ball as well, and he's a really, really good defender. And that's exactly what they need at that 4 spot. So I have them selecting Liddell at number 19. And finally, I have the San Antonio Spurs selecting Jalen Williams. I think this guy could be the steal of the draft. He has a little bit of Cade Cunningham to his game. Not saying he's as good as Cade Cunningham, of course, but he has that type of movement on his step back jumpers and a little bit of his playmaking as well. He could potentially even play backup point guard for now for the San Antonio Spurs, but he could be the long-term fit next to DeJounte Murray as well. So I have them selecting Jalen Williams at number 20. So my question to you guys this week is, who do you think is going to be the steal of this 2022 NBA draft? Please let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Also tell me what you think about my 2022 NBA mock draft 3.0. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notifications bell. All that really helps the channel out, guys. And most importantly, have a great rest of your day.